Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are on this Gooner planet of ours. So, welcome back to the Same Old Arsenal podcast, where I'm so pleased to say that the interdull is over and we are back. And are we back with a bang? So, joining me today are my two pod brothers. First up, Captain Cook, how are you?
After yesterday, Amanda, I am very, very well. Looking forward to talking it through this morning.
Isn't it wonderful to have a happy podcast? Just we don't have to be cathartic, worry about any of it. Joining you and me is our other podcast brother, Mr. Chris Suburban Gooner. How are you, my darling?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Feeling chipper on a Sunday morning.
Yes. So, yes, we'd like to welcome everyone to our post game breakfast show on a Sunday. It's fantastic that people that can join us from around the world because of the time difference are Australians, for one, and there's quite a few of you in the chat room. So, we'd like to welcome you to the Same Old Arsenal podcast, sponsored by Ruth Beckart. Please go and visit her new website, ruthbeckart.com. She has got some brilliant Christmas cards and gifts and everything. And really, 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 please go and support our wonderful artist. So, we were back at the carpet at the Emirates yesterday. Needless to say, for anyone watching that wasn't there, it wasn't the most decent of weathers to travel to football, to watch football, and to come home from football. So I do feel very sorry for everyone in the lower blocks. I didn't get wet sitting there yesterday. I don't think Cooks would have done, but I'm imagining Chris might have done. But we'll get to all that. So coming to visit us was Nottingham Forest. God forbid I say Notts Forest because I get told off by all the Nottingham Forest fans. Coming to visit Nottingham Forest. Haven't lost away from home, boys. And I want to talk to you about the first thing that I noticed with the lineups. So, Chris, I'll come to you first.
Yep.
Listen, we all can sit there and go, bit strange, why? Okay, but I do trust Arteta. I know he makes mistakes, no one's perfect, but what did you think of the lineup?
I think it was a lineup which had it was potentially dangerous, but it had other games in mind. If you think about
Yeah,
the volume of matches that we've got to play between now and Christmas and the New Year, we're basically playing every 3 days, and so I think Arteta is very mindful of that. He's probably also quite mindful of the fact that, and he said this afterwards. So I know I'm fast forwarding a bit, but he said like this week, the last few days is the first time we've been able to train with 19 first teamers rather than 12 or 13. So I think because he's been burned a little bit by that, he's thinking to himself, this time around, I'm going to get going on in terms of rotation. So after the fact and in hindsight, we can all sit here and be very happy that he rotated because we've got fresh players now for Sporting and West Ham next week. But in the pub, and I was in the Shay, which is called El Comandante with Dave Seeger, we were talking about this, and a lot of us were raised eyebrows because this could have been a big banana skin because Forest are a decent team.
I know. And I, to be honest, during the game, I was quite shocked at how poor they were. So,
Mm.
Cooks, our predictions were I went 3-1, both of you went 2-0. So we did feel quite positive about this coming up, considering we hadn't won. I couldn't even remember the last time we won. Did you think to yourself, what's he playing at in midfield? Because, you've been a big advocate of Partey. He's been playing so well this season. And all of a sudden he's put on the bench and Jorginho's playing. Now, I like Jorginho, but I was a bit shocked at that.
Yeah, I was a little bit worried about how it would impact us in transition because Forest are so good at breaking. They've got Hudson-Odoi, they've got Alangua, Iwani. I've probably butchered his name there, but basically they've got a lot of pace on the counter-attack. And with Jorginho kind of in there as the sole number 6, I did have concerns, but he very quickly put any of my concerns to bed because I thought he was excellent. And it's really unfortunate that he got that yellow card because, let's be honest, he should have played the whole game. He was having that good of a performance. And it goes to show that he should be playing a lot more football. And I think with Marino, Odegaard in there, he's got ample cover around him with Calafiori, Timber as the wing-backs, as the full-back, sorry. I think, them coming into midfield really helps. But I also think one of the reasons why we didn't see Partey start this game, and it's maybe me reading into it a bit too much, is that he's essentially our backup right back now. And if you've got Timber and Partey starting in the same game, if both of those were to go down with an injury, you've not got at right back. I mean, Partey's not a right back. I don't want to see him there at all. But as it stands, with no Tommy Asu, with no Ben White for the foreseeable future, he is going to be that next right back option, as much as we hate to see that. So I think that maybe played a part in Arteta's thinking. I did have concerns about Jesus and Trossard up top, because they're two guys that have been really out of form. I thought Trossard was really good for the most part. Jesus, I don't know if we're going to go on to discuss him a little bit later, but I think
We definitely will.
we will. Okay, I'm going to park the Jesus discussion for the time being.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like Chris said, really happy with the rotation and the players that came in. I thought they performed really well.
Yeah, and I think James Bond, if you can put that back up, Chris, is exactly right. He's got to look at that. You know, we've got them thick and fast coming now, especially Saturday night, West Ham away. I mean, it is good. And also, I'd like to say to everyone, please put your questions, comments that you want us to answer in the chat room. My admin assistant, Christopher, will be starring them all today. And we will answer them towards the end of the show. So, you know, we all made our way to the Emirates. We're all buzzing. It was very hard to be. The atmosphere I thought was going to be a lot better than it was, but I think the rain and the wind, I don't think people appreciated how bad the conditions were. On TV, it certainly didn't look as bad as it was sitting there, and obviously the players playing. Well, boys, we set off like unbelievably fast, motivated, disciplined. We were at them. We were at them, Chris, weren't we? Straight off, you could see. And the one, the one player that I am going to wax lyrical about was magical Martin Erdegaard. Jesus Christ, have we missed that player? The link up between defence and attack with him. He took that game for me, man of the match, even before. Even during half time, when he's just man of the match, no one's going to beat him in the second half to what he's done. We miss him so much, didn't we, Chris?
We really, really did. And you know how I feel about Martin Odegaard. I think he's an absolutely amazing footballer. I think he makes us tick. He covers so much ground. Assists. He got an assists yesterday. 83 touches, 90% accurate passing completion. He's everywhere. 6 key passes. Martin Odegaard is the engine, but he's also the creative outlet for our team. And you could just tell the connection between him and Saka as well. It's like Saka's already our star boy. He's already an elite footballer. But when he's got those little interchanges, and we'll come to the goal, I'm sure, because that was a classic example of it, the most deftest of touches. But even before that, Odegaard had a shot, I think, we had a shot blocked. Like you said, we were on them from the get-go. My worry, I was talking to a few of the lads in Block 5, my worry is if we get to half-time or 60 minutes, that's the game that Forest want. They want it 0-0. They want it tight. They want to be defensively solid, and they want to use their pacey wide players to hit us in transition. And we've seen these games before where we get a bit frustrated, maybe we overcommit, and then we end up getting rope-a-doped. But yesterday, you know, we scored the offside goal, I'm sure you're going to come to, but that was within 5 minutes, and then Saka within 15 minutes. It was perfect for what we needed. So Erdegaard was a big part of all of what was good yesterday.
Oh, wasn't he just? Wasn't he just? I also thought, though, and James, if you want to touch on Erdegaard, please do, but I also thought Marino, Jorginho, I thought they were all good. And the Saka Erdegaard is like a bromance, isn't it? He's like he's missed his brother. The link up between, I mean, we will talk about the first goal because all the goals were great. They were just all really, really good goals. But what's your take on what Erdegaard brings to us and the link up with Saka and everything that Chris has just gone on about?
I think it's just such a balanced team that we saw yesterday. Like, there were so many players with really good technical ability, all in their right positions. And he just brought out the best in Jorginho. Not that he needs someone to bring the best out of him, but you just know what I mean. It all ticks, it all glues together really, really nicely. And I think we saw a much better performance from Marino. Not that he was poor against Chelsea when he came off the bench. And I think we're starting to see him really show what he can do in an Arsenal shirt. But that midfield was just, I mean, you wouldn't say you'd want to go to maybe the Etihad with that midfield three. It might be lacking a bit physically. But in terms of technical ability, it's brilliant. And the link up Erdegaard has got with not just Saka, but I think, Jesus as well. Like, they linked up really nicely a couple of times. he's got that telepathic sort of nature with those forward players. And just having him back in the team, what I really noticed was those little moves on the edge of the box where we're just kind of tiptoeing around the opposition defenders that we haven't done at all in the past 4 to 6 weeks, really. I mean, basically the entire time Odegaard's been out, we've not really seen that. We were just doing that with ease, like just pinging the ball about, one touch, two touch, really quick. And okay, a lot of the time it doesn't come off, but when it does come off, you get a goal 9 times out of 10. I mean, we are really good at doing that when we've got him in the team, and it's just a pleasure to have him back. But I mean, there's another guy as well knocking at the door who's equally as good at that sort of stuff. And he got a goal yesterday, and I'm sure we're going to talk about him a little bit later.
Absolutely. God, there is quite a lot to talk about. And luckily enough, Christopher, it's all positive. So let's head in. Look, I thought it was just going to be one of those games where the ball wasn't going to go in. It was going to be another game. You know, as you just said, that we haven't won a game since October the 5th at home. It's been a long time. We're at the end of November. Obviously, we've had a couple of installs in all that. But I mean, you know, we've spoken about Saka I've just lost for words. When you speak to opposing fans, I don't even know if they do it just to wind us up. But to anyone that thinks he is an elite, he isn't world class. It astounds me what he only did yesterday. But before we go into that, I just want to have a little bit of a moan about VAR. You know, I don't know how long we sat there for, but it did feel like 5 minutes.
About 4 minutes. I think it's about 3 or 4 minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
So my argument about it is, and I don't want to bring the show down and talk about this again. We're sitting there, all we've got is a screen saying VAR checking for offside. We don't know anything else. Nothing. People are booing in the end. How long do you think it takes, Chris, to look at some lines and decide? I'm sorry, 4 minutes to do what? Surely a minute would be perfectly enough to draw a line and have a look. No?
Well, I think there's a couple of things here. I think the first thing is, if you think about how much they've been chastised over the last 18 months, I think they're, particularly with offsides, they're getting really finicky because they don't want there to be a toenail offside. And then on Match of the Day or Ref Watch or Sky Sports or whatever it is the next day and the next few days, they end up getting called out. Like, how can you not see this is offside? So I think they are being quite finicky on it. On the actual offside itself, I'd like to get James's view as well, because normally what happens is we score, the flag doesn't go up, and then it gets pulled back. So you get that joy ripped out from you, whipped from underneath you. But yesterday, because the flag went up, my first instance was, oh, he's offside. So it was annoying. It was annoying that we didn't get the goal. It was really marginal and tight, to be fair. But James, I don't know if you're the same, because I feel like Manda and I are the same. Like, because the flag went up, I was like, oh, it's not a goal. And the longer that it went on, I was like, oh, maybe this is closer. So rather than it being the other way round, which is normally you just feel a bit pissed off, I was just kind of like, it'll be nice if we scored, but you know what? It's early, fine.
Yeah, it was the exact same for me. To be fair, I probably made a bit of a fool of myself and celebrated that like it was a goal as soon as it had gone in. Just because I was so happy for Timbers to score more than anything, because obviously we know he's had that long injury layoff, and for him to have scored, it would have been fantastic. But that was very quickly a muted celebration when I saw the flag go up. And exactly the same as you, it would be quite a nice added bonus if the goal went in, because at that point in the game, we were playing so well. We deserved a goal. And I think if we hadn't scored so soon after that had happened, that would have been really frustrating, and we'd have looked back on that and gone, look, that was the moment that we had. But no, I mean, Arsenal didn't let that get to them, and we came back and got that fantastic goal on 15 minutes.
It probably helped, actually, didn't it? A bit more confident. We've actually scored. And then it wasn't going to be one of those days. I know it didn't count, but we actually just put the ball in the back of the net. I was like you, Chris. I straight away looked at the linesman and just sat down. And I thought VAR would be over in 10 seconds because it was offside. So we moved on. It ruins the game. I'm sorry, 4 minutes is a long time to sit there with. And then I started to get positive. After about 3 minutes, I thought, oh my God, it could be a goal.
Yeah.
Because then you start to think, oh, they've seen something. And I kept going to Carl, I wonder if they're going to give us a goal. I actually thought it was offside. But I watched Match of the Day last night, very late last night, and I can't really tell. But I don't know. Listen, it is what it is. And I want to touch on something that Le Grove said, and I totally agree this. We are refed differently. we are definitely ref
Yeah.
differently, and I don't really get this at the moment. Bloke throws the ball away. Nothing. Just nothing.
It happened
You
twice,
can't.
Amanda.
Yeah,
It happened twice.
he was on
I,
a yellow as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, he had a word with him, didn't he? That was the one I was talking about, but I didn't realise there was another one. And I'm sitting there going, I'm sick of even discussing this. I still don't think Declan Rice should have been sent off for a tiny tap on a hill where this bloke actually throws the ball away. And you're talking about another one as well. And I saw LeGrove tweet at half time or after, and he said we are definitely ref differently. We just have to accept it. I don't want to accept it. I really don't, because I've got a lot of non-Arsenal fans that say, "Oh, you lot, all you do is moan about VAR." Oh, no, because I wouldn't be moaning about any of this if everyone was ref the same. But we're not. We are really not. We've seen it in so many games. Anyway, moving on. Let's go to the positive. So, Cooks,
Yeah.
we've got our main man back in midfield, who has linked up with Saka. They do a beautiful 1-2. And I honestly thought Saka had taken it too far. What the hell do I know? So let's just talk about that beauty of a first goal.
Yeah, and it had been coming, hadn't it? That ball through from Odegaard to Saka was fantastic to begin with. Just the faintest, but the most perfect of touches. And then, like you, I was thinking, he's beaten one, he's beaten two. He's going to take on the first. That's one too many. But that finish was outrageous. Like, of all the places I was expecting him to put it, I was thinking bottom left-hand corner. That's definitely where he's going to be going. But he completely wrong foots the keeper, and it goes in the opposite side of the net. It's honestly such a good goal. It's a world-class goal. Yeah, it was just the perfect way to open the scoring.
Absolutely. It was, I thought it was like a wow moment, if I'm honest. Chris, anything to add to that?
I've seen a couple of Forest fans suggesting that it was poor defending, but to be honest with you, what are you supposed to do as a Forest defender? Because if you think about the way in which Saka is travelling across goal, he's not travelling towards goal. So as a defender, you either then have to go out to meet him, potentially risk drawing a foul inside the box. You have to jockey him. So Saka's going away from goal. It's not like he's bearing down on goal or anything. So I just think it's a quality finish from a quality player that makes the difference. And if we get more, I say more, we're getting that from him already, but more of that stuff this season is going to be the difference between whether or not we can finish with some silver trinkets or whether or not we don't. He's just a brilliant player, phenomenal player, and I love watching him.
Yeah, I mean, we could have a whole show about Saka, his mentality and everything he does as well. It's just absolutely amazing. I just love that goal. I really thought it was a wowzer of a goal. It was great. But then, then we started to play on, and then what happens is you're up 1-0, you go in at half time. Chris, mute your mic. Good boy.
Sorry, I'm asking people to follow us on the socials and all of that sort of stuff, but I will mute my mic.
I can hear you tapping away like a mouse. So sorry, my train of thought. So it's 1-0. We're coming up to half time, aren't we? And Cooks is like, is it going to be the same old thing again where we come out second half, they score, and it's going to be one of those games? It really is. It's unfortunate at the moment that we didn't get the one before half time. But going into half time, what did you think?
I was really happy because, okay, we've got the lead and that's great. And it means that, we're in a really good position because Forest, if they want to get something from this game now, have to come out and try and play against us. But also we'd created so many opportunities that I was confident that if we picked up where we left off in the second half, we would win this game by, at least 2-0. I mean, 3-0, I think, is such a good win against this Forest team. Who've been so hard to beat this season, who have gone to Anfield and won, who've got some really good players in there as well. I mean, Murillo's a fantastic defender. Elanga's been really good. Hudson-Odoi's been really good. Chris Wood has been scoring goals for fun. They're a very, very good team. And we went into this game level on points with them. So it goes to show just how good of a side they are. But in that first half, I mean, there was the Trossard chance. There was another Saka chance. We were tiptoeing around their box for fun. And then, like I say, we picked up where we left off in that second half. Partey came on, and again, I'd go as far as saying he's been our best midfielder this season. I don't want to jump the gun on the goal he scores, but it was unfortunate as I said previously, that Jorginho had to go off because he was running things in the midfields. But what a nice position to be in when you've got a player like either Thomas Partey or Declan Rice that you can bring on in that number 6 role. And it kind of be a bit of an upgrade on Jorginho, with all due respect to him. But then also the fact that we've won this game without Kai Havertz playing a single minute, without Gabriel Martinelli playing a minute, without Declan Rice playing a minute. I could wax lyrical all day about how good of a result this is, but that Thomas Partey goal, I think, epitomised what was such a good performance.
Can I just jump in on that just for a second? I turned around to the guys behind me and said, it feels like Thomas Partey, that goal, it's like it's a carbon copy of what he does. It's almost like a trademark one, but he only does it like once a season. It's like you only get one. So choose which
he's done it twice this season, Chris. Got that goal against Villa,
that curling goal.
Well, you're right. From distance, outside the box, he is a very, very good finisher.
I mean, that I thought it is his trademark, but I do believe that was a really good goal. I mean, where he shot is right in front of me, and I loved it. Listen, as we said, all 3 goals were great, and I think he deserved it. I think he's played really, really well this season, especially. I've loved watching how he's connected the midfield with the defence, and how his forward passing is, it is great. So anything to add on to the goal, Chris, that, we're 2-0 up now. I can't remember because I was out last night, but I can't remember when the subs came on and who came on for who. I know Zinchenko came on. Let's touch on what Chris was saying, James was saying at the beginning about Jesus. I mean, I love the guy. But I said on the last pod that I do think he's finished. We need someone that can put the ball in the back of the net. So what did you want to talk about with Jesus, James?
I mean, it was just... I don't really know where I stand with him at the minute. I think my brutal opinion is that come the summer, it's time to part ways. Whatever he had in those first 3-4 months with us, where he was just electric, has just gone, and all of his pace has gone as well, which is a real shame. There was a moment, it would have been right in front of you, Amanda, down the right hand side, where the ball came to him one-on-one with their left back, and he tried to knock it past him and he just couldn't, and he just got done so easily. I still think his intricate play, his link-up play around the box, and I do think he links up well with Ødegaard and Saka when they're in close proximity. I think that stuff, he's still got it, but his finishing has never been there, if we're being totally honest. He's now lost his pace and flair. So, not that I thought he was terrible yesterday. I actually thought it was a very workmanlike performance from him. And you're always pretty much going to get that. I just don't know what he necessarily offers at the moment. I still think he was a 6.5 out of 10 yesterday. I don't think he was bad, as I say, but I think we can definitely do a lot better than him. And I do think that's one area that I'm looking at and thinking, we need an upgrade. He's become a bit, dare I say, Lacazette in his performances.
Yeah, I actually think, but Lacazette used to score, didn't he?
Well, in his last season,
not towards the end,
Premier League goals.
Not towards the end of his last season. No, I agree, but I think they're slightly different players, because I think Jesus brought tenacity and the fighting spirit and stuff like that. But Chris, we need someone to put the ball in the back of the net. You can't carry a player like that without someone being able. And when he joined, although we were over the moon, my City mate said to me he needs to score more. I said, well, maybe he's with us, he will. But they obviously watched him a lot longer than we did. But he just needs to finish off the chances, and he's not.
Yeah, he played for 90 minutes. He had that one chance in the first half, which I thought was it was a good effort, because he's leaning back, like it came to him as leaning back, and he's just put it wide. But that was literally his only chance in the entire game. He had 36 touches, 85% accurate passes, 2 key passes. But like, you look at all of the numbers, it's very low. Like 8 times he lost possession. He was offside a couple of times, a couple of clearances. This is not the sort of involvement that we've come to expect and we get from Kai Havertz. To me, Gabriel Jesus feels like he's a filler player at the moment. He's essentially a filler player because Arteta wanted to rest Havertz. That's clear from yesterday. And so it was Gabriel Jesus, run, like, get on, use up minutes. Hopefully, like if we can get the win, get our goals from elsewhere on the pitch, which is obviously what we do, then the positive is that Kai Havertz has had a week off, half a week off, and he'll go straight into the team against Sporting Lisbon. Absolutely, 100%. But it's a shame, really, because he feels like he's a real confidence player, and he just looks a bit haunted to me at the moment. He just you see him, he just looks a bit forlorn, and that's really sad. Like you said, James, like he came in, and Arteta's even referenced it. Like he rocked our world. He changed. Him and Zinchenko changed everything for us for that short period of time. But injuries, that World Cup, and Arsenal moving on has cost him, because we have, like, when you get players that get injured so much, like, we can't hang around. Arteta's not a guy to hang around. And we're seeing the same with Tomiyasu. Like, we've all basically just given up on Tomiyasu, but Tomiyasu came in and rocked our world. But now all of us have essentially we've just not washed our hands with him, but we've kind of just made peace with the fact that he's just not really ever going to be a first team regular. And this Arsenal team has moved on. You've got Ben White, you've got Jurriën Timber. Like, I can't even see Tomiyasu playing ahead of Jurriën Timber the way that Timber's playing.
No chance.
But maybe he would get games, maybe in the League Cup or something like that. And I miss
Tomiyasu would play a lot of games, I think.
Yeah,
You know,
I do agree as well. But mentally and physically, he's just not fit, James. And how can you rely on that?
You can't.
You know, but I do believe, and I know what Chris is saying, that Ben White and Jurriën are a little bit a grade above, in my opinion, on Tomiyasu. But I love Tomiyasu, and we want him fit, and we want him well, and we want him back. That's for sure. We want the strongest squad we could have. So we've spoken about Partey, the goal. I just want to touch on as well, Jorginho, you mentioned. I would also like to say that a couple of weeks ago we were talking about Marino, and I said to all of you, just let's give him some time. Everyone was on his back again. I'm not saying you two so much, but generally on all different social media platforms. Oh, maybe you were. Can't remember, Chris, and I don't want to throw you under the bus if you were. But I kept
throw myself
saying,
under the bus. It's fine.
Right. Throw yourself under the bus. But Havertz, I said this, just everyone was on his back. We just got to give him time. And I thought, I'll start with you, Chris, then. I thought we saw shades of what Marino could bring yesterday. I mean, I thought he's vast improvement yesterday, and maybe he's got a bit of confidence and maybe just time. Not everyone settles into a new job within day one.
Yeah, well, SofaScore has him as one of our better players on 7.0, and he won quite a lot of. He won a few ground duels, he won a few aerial headers. There was a nice little pirouette in the first half that I saw where Forest were pressing us in our left back spot. And I think it was him, Calafiori, and Gabriel over on that side, and they just popped the ball around between them, and we got out of trouble really simplistically. But it looked like quite a worrying moment. That moment, but it was a nice little pirouette, and away we go. I will admit to you, I think I said it on Threads or Blue Sky or Twitter or one of those many channels that you have to be on these days. I wasn't sure about Marino because I wasn't sure what is he going to bring to this team, but we're starting to see signs of it. He's very calm in possession. We all know, because we've listened and we've watched YouTube videos about his ability to win duels, and he gets into the box, and we've already seen that with the Liverpool goal. I think, again, maybe it's the same as when Havertz first arrived. It took him a while to bed in, and perhaps I just need to update my priors with Marino in that he's going to be more of an influence as he starts to understand and weave himself into the kind of fabric of this Arsenal team.
Absolutely. I really believe that. And yes, James Johnson is not a defensive midfielder. Cooks, what do you think of Marino? I can't remember what you said on the last pod.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been of the opinion that he's been really bad since we signed him. I mean, he's been a bit unfortunate with that injury that he had, and he's come into a team where he's not really had to play in his natural position. Against Liverpool, I thought he was fantastic. I thought he was great when he came on against Chelsea. The only real bad performance I can say, okay, you were not good that day, was against Newcastle when everyone was really, really bad. And arguably, you could throw the Bournemouth one in there, but again, a similar situation. Everyone was poor that day, and he wasn't in a role that was accustomed to him. So I think it really helped that he was in a balanced team yesterday, playing in that left 8 role. He wins duels, he gets back, does defensive work. He's a real threat in the box. We saw that on the offside goal that we scored within the first 5 minutes. He's already got the goal against Liverpool. He can be a real asset to this Arsenal team, but I don't want to see him, playing in the Ødegaard role. I don't want to see him playing at 6. I just want to see him in that left 8 role because that's where he can offer the most to this Arsenal side, and that's exactly what we saw yesterday.
Yeah, and also we had Declan on the bench, didn't we? And we've got Havertz on the bench and Martinelli on the bench as well. So, the bench looked quite strong yesterday as well. And we'll talk about obviously our subs in a moment. Third goal. Let's just talk. I want to talk about Waneri because everyone was on Arteta's back for not playing him. I sort of get that a little bit. However, did you both see the quotes the quote that Arteta made about laying the bricks and the foundation?
Yeah.
He's totally and utterly right. He is right. He's got to lay the foundation properly for beneficial to Arsenal and also for a 17-year-old as well. He's got to manage that situation like he managed Saliba when he sent him off on loan, when he didn't bring him back from France, and everyone's forgotten that now. So, Chris, this Waneri, what a prospect. He could be our new star boy very, very soon. The pace of him, the movement and the enthusiasm. And then can you imagine I can't remember being 17 and your dream is to put the ball in the back of the net in the Premier League, and he's gone and done that in such great style. And Sterling obviously assisted him, which is lovely as well. Talk to me about your thoughts on Waneri and how you feel Arteta is managing him.
I think he's doing the right thing because you've got to remember this kid's 17 and it's easy to make, he's got no fear. So he's coming on with no fear with 10 minutes to go, 15 minutes to go, and you've got to make an impact quickly. And he's also coming on in certain game states. Like the game state yesterday was Arsenal are 2-0 up, get yourself on and just have a run at Forest. If we're 1-0 down against a Chelsea or a United or a Tottenham and we're at home, it's probably a similar game state, but the risk factor goes up as well. So I just think he's able to play with a bit more freedom, and that's showing. So I think what Arteta's doing is absolutely the right thing. I mean, he's talking about laying bricks, but as soon as a brick gets laid down, the way that Nwaneri's playing, he's already got another one that he's laid beside it. It's phenomenal. It came on within the first he came on 82 minutes. Within the first sort of minute or two, he's driving. He's beaten 2 men. I think Arteta referenced it at the end, and he forces a shot just wide, and then the goal comes along. And actually, let's have a little props to Raheem Sterling because it was a nice little drop of the shoulder come across, and he gets himself an assist. And let's be honest, all of us are still a bit unsure with Sterling. I don't think he's ever really going to break into this team like all those years ago when, do you remember Yossi Ben Ayoun came and Wenger was really reluctant to play him. Do you remember he was really reluctant to play him for half a season, and then he just sort of slowly sort of fed him in, and by the end of the season he was one of our best players, I seem to recall. And it feels like that with Raheem. Well, it doesn't feel like that with Raheem Sterling. I don't think it will get to that, but we just need him to contribute. And in order for him to contribute, he's going to need to have a bit of confidence and being able to look at those numbers and say, well, I got an assist yesterday, or I played in the League Cup and I got a goal. I think that just adds a little bit of value. So really, really good. It was good to see the tidy finish as well from Nwaneri, like really, really acute angle to find the net. And he becomes our second youngest ever goal scorer behind Cesc Fabregas. So that's nice.
I think Jobo, and welcome to the show. And welcome to the show, everybody in the chat rooms. We can see all your comments. When you said people want and Waneri played every game, they will scream when he burns out. So obviously that's one of the reasons, Cooks, isn't it? That's what's going on. He's just managing the situation. I know someone in the chat room doesn't agree with how Arteta dealt with Saliba and Waneri at the moment. But we're not privy to what goes on 24/7 at the Arsenal. Don't care what anyone says, whoever thinks they're in the know or anything. We're not there. We don't know. We don't know how his attitude was or anything really. So in our eyes, he's come on and he has. It's right that 10 minutes ago, no pressure, bring the boy on, let him score. I mean, fantastic. And you can just see shades of what he's going to be, Cooks.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of agree with the comment by Diehard Gunner that says we could have played him a little bit more in Odegaard's absence. Whether it's coming off the bench or starting games, either Southampton at home or Shakhtar at home, I would have started him in one of those games. Apart from that, I think Arteta's got it pretty spot on, and I totally get that you want to manage expectations with this guy. But every game he's played this season, we've all thought he looks great, every single one. So I'm pretty confident that if he played, he would be absolutely fine. He looks like he's ready-made for the men's game. But on the same note, if he was to play 3, 4, 5 Premier League games in a row, and we're all going, this guy's absolutely fantastic. If he drops one clanger, I don't think Arsenal fans are the type to get on the case of a 17-year-old, but you don't want to become too overly reliant on someone at such a young age because that's just going to mount so much pressure on him. So I think with Odegaard being back, it alleviates a lot of that pressure. It means we can start to play him a bit more off the bench, exactly in the sort of situations that we did yesterday. I'd like to see him still come on a little bit earlier, but what he did in that 10, 15-minute spell was unbelievable. I mean, that drop of the shoulder to get past Murillo, that shot he had where he put it just wide of the post. But that goal, I mean, it's inch perfect into the bottom corner. It's such a good goal. And I just hope we get to see more and more of him coming off the bench in the Premier League. And I reckon second half of the season, I would not be surprised if he's starting Premier League games. I mean, we can probably all assume he's going to start that game against Palace in the League Cup, but I don't think it's going to be long before we see him starting some games in the Premier League, which is a really, really exciting prospect.
Can I just jump in just for 1 second? This is an interesting point that James makes.
I was just going to say about James's point.
But he is showing, like, people are saying that Arteta's made a mistake, but he is backing him. Like, he's 17. This kid's 17, but he's getting minutes. He's getting minutes ahead of other players. And the fact that he let Vieira and Emile Smith-Rowe go shows that he does trust him. So, James, great point. Go on, Amanda.
No, I agree. You can carry on talking about. I'm happy to talk about Waneri for the next 10 minutes because I think he's just a really exciting prospect. But I just want people to understand 17 years of age. Now, do you remember Wayne Rooney, how he was managed as well at that age? I just think that he's a very, very, very young boy. I mean, we look at Saka as young. And I mean, what's Saka now? 23, 22?
Mm-hmm. 23.
Yeah, that's 5 years older or 6 years older. That's a massive difference in your life of growing up. And Arteta's like his dad, and his dad will do the best thing for him and for the club. He's not an idiot. He knows that, he sees talent and he wants to play them. I do sort of get your point a little bit, Cooks, that maybe he could have played in the odd game, but maybe he just wasn't ready and maybe he didn't want him to have a bad game, bad moments that he couldn't come back from. That's what I'm saying about, how old is he? 17. God, 17. But anyway, I think it's a really, really exciting prospect. But let's just touch on Trossard and Martinelli. Trossard, Cooks, what are we making of him at the moment? I've always preferred him as a super sub. Never to start. I've just never wanted him to start. Can you? I don't know. You talk about Trossard.
That's one way of segueing into it.
I know. I'm just not sure how I feel because I really don't like slagging players off, but I'm not sure what he's actually given us at the moment.
I mean, I've got a different opinion. I thought he was good yesterday. I thought in the first half, some of his interplay was really good. I thought he was making good runs down the left-hand side. And to be honest, it's the first time in a long time that we've actually seen him play as a left winger, which we all know is his role. Like, he's been playing that weird sort of hybrid centre forward, number 10 sort of role. Whereas yesterday, he was just an out and out left winger. I thought he linked up really well with Calafiori, with Marino. He was getting into dangerous positions, knocking it around the box nicely. Forced a really good save from Sells in the first half as well. So I thought the performance from Trossard was much, much improved. And that's going to be a nice problem to have with him and Martinelli because we need those two both to be kind of fighting for that left-hand spot. And I think going into the Sporting game on Tuesday, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Martinelli starts that game. We see Trossard come on. But I think it's an interesting position because I think both of them have failed to really convince and win over the supporters this season. So it's kind of there for one of them. If one of them can put a run of games together where they play really, really well, they can nail down that spot. But I thought Trossard's, based on yesterday's game, after a tough run of fixtures where he's not played particularly well, it was definitely one of his more productive performances.
Okay. And Martinelli, unless you want to talk about Trossard, Chris, but Martinelli
Yeah,
needs
well,
to put
just
the
a
ball
little
in the
bit.
back of the net, doesn't he?
Well, this is the thing, actually, because if you think he started to do that, because he did that against Chelsea, and Martinelli's the sort of streaky player that I feel like he might go on a run of scoring. And if he does that end product, then we're going to see the Martinelli of 2 seasons ago. Interesting. I was looking at the heat map between Saka and Trossard just a minute ago, and Saka's is obviously very heavy on that right hand side, and he gets more touches, and we look for him a lot more because Ødegaard's on that side. Trossard has to go, and I noticed this a couple of times. He goes hunting for the ball, so he did pop up on the right hand side once or twice, but also on his heat map, there's a bit more defensive work. So I think we ask him, particularly because Calafiori likes to go for a little bit of a wander, we ask him to do a little bit more defensively. So I'm with you, James. I think he actually performed quite well. You know, he's not Bukayo Saka. He could never be compared to Bukayo Saka. There's an opportunity for him and Martinelli to duke it out. Martinelli has come off the back of scoring against Chelsea. I think Martinelli will play against Sporting, and one of them needs to just establish themselves. But what we need is that competition and battle to happen to kind of elevate both of them, because that's what we really want, isn't it? We want to be able to say, for this game, it feels like a Trossard game. For this game, it feels like a Martinelli game. Well, this game is a start Martinelli and give Trossard 20 minutes, like you said, Amanda, as a super sub impact. So that's what we kind of want. That's the utopia.
Okay, so we've mentioned Sporting. What changes do you think he's going to make, Cook? And what changes would you make?
It's a tough one. I would probably stick with the exact same back five. So Raya, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, and Calafiori. And then in midfield, it's a tricky one. I don't know if I'd bring Declan Rice in just yet. Number one, because I'm not entirely sure we really need him to play when we've got Jorginho and Partey there. And if he is still nursing an injury, I'd much rather he's just fit, fresh, and ready to go for West Ham next week. So I'd probably bring Partey in, play Marino again, and play Ødegaard. And then front three, Saka, Havertz, Martinelli.
Yeah. Nice, though, that Havertz got a rest as well. Chris, anything to add to that? Would you change anything? I mean, the back five, I think we're in agreement.
Yeah, you've got to play that back five.
Yeah.
And I just don't see how you can not play Partey. It's not on Rice. I'm kind of echoing James's point here. Like, he scored, he played really well yesterday when he came on. He's our in-form midfielder. If this is a meritocracy, you've got to keep playing him. But it's a good situation, because then if Declan Rice has had the broken toe, which was the rumours, then let's get him fully recovered. We've all talked about the fact that he's not been quite 100% the same Declan Rice that we had last season. Maybe he's just been struggling with an injury that he's just been sort of getting through games, and now we need to give him some time. But I would say 100% the West Ham game next weekend, Declan Rice needs to come in, because he's going to want to impress, particularly when he gets a small portion of those weird West Ham fans that boo him for some bizarre reason.
Yeah, we got West Ham, haven't we, Saturday evening? It's, as I said, coming thick and fast now. So James Johnston's team is the same. Let me just read that.
Yeah, same as mine.
Okay, yeah,
same as
I think. But you know, Arteta always goes and shocks us. So did we stop Forest playing yesterday, Cooks, or were they just really poor because they didn't have one shot on target? And they're literally a couple of points away from us in the league, and they haven't lost away from home. So what's your view?
I think we were just really good. I mean, just to reiterate what I said earlier, I mean, this is a really good Forest team. Like, I've got a lot of time for them. What Nuno's done, I think he's building a really, really, really solid side. And I like a lot of their players. Like, I really like Murillo. I really like Anya. I thought Dominguez was really dangerous in midfield in the opening stages. And, you know, they've got players like Hudson-Odoi, Elanga. They've got two really good striking options. They're a side that are really packed to talent. And I think they deserve to be where they are this season. I mean, going to Liverpool and winning, we all know how difficult that is. They picked up some great results. and they've just been really hard to beat. But I think yesterday, we made them look poor because we were so good. And Nuno even said after the game, his interview on Match of the Day, he just said, look, we recognise that Arsenal were a much better team. And it's actually really refreshing to hear a manager come out and not have any excuses and just say, look, we could have done better defensively. But he was just like, Arsenal were the better team. We completely recognise that, and we're going to work on what we can do better. I'm just like, yeah, fair play. Like that's a really good, nice interview, because we don't hear that all too often. So no, I think that's exactly what it came down to. Like I say, we were so good that we just didn't let Forest play at all.
Yeah, can I just quickly jump in? I'll hit you.
Yeah, and sorry, I'm just going to say I agree with Cooks. I think we were really good yesterday. Go on.
We were really good. We had basically 66% possession to their 33, so we had the ball 2/3 of the time. 16. So let's look at the shots. We had 19 attempts and goals, 7 on target, and as Carl had said in the chat, we limited Forest to 0 shots on target. The closest they got was there was a Chris Wood header, which he was kind of he was travelling backwards as he headed it, and it just looped over the bar. And Raya did a bit of a Sky Sports cameras kind of jump, but he had it covered. You know, we basically bested them in everything. We bested them in shots inside the box, outside of the box. We had 587 passes to their 295. We had more key passes. We had more big chances. Like in every single metric that you look at, this was an Arsenal team that were on it. And you could kind of tell when Arteta said afterwards, he said 48 hours before the game, I could just tell that this team and the squad were up for it. And I think that they've probably collectively felt like they've been a bit battered and bruised lately. Injuries, suspensions, and stupid red cards, some of which should never have been a red card in a million years. And as you said right at the beginning or midway through the show, Amanda, like we get ref differently. And those examples we've already seen this season. Arteta's been training with 12 or 13 players as opposed to the 19 or 20 that he wants to. I think the team kind of looked at this game and said, no, we've had enough of this. We're good. We know we're good. We're going to show people we're good. And this Forest team, who everyone's been giving the plaudits to, we're going to show them why there's a difference between the top 3 teams in the league, Arsenal, City, and Liverpool, and everyone else.
I think Nuno said exactly that after the game as well. Like he said something along the lines of, we know there's a big difference between us and them. Sorry, Amanda.
No, I agree with you. No, it's fine. It is nice to see a manager just say that. You know, when they go on the defence and they blame something, just you've had a bad game. You know, I mean, I'm just going to touch on the City Spurs game in a moment and Pep's reaction, but I just feel sometimes. Hold your hands up. Bad day at the office. I actually thought they looked pretty average because we made them look pretty average. I thought we were great all game. Not once was I sitting there plutzing at all. I just enjoyed it, apart from the wind. But it was just, I think I think maybe now underestimating what Erdegaard brings to the squad, to the club, to the team, cannot not be overrated now. I mean, to come back from injury and play like that, I actually thought he'd go off much earlier, and I thought we'd see touches of brilliance. You know, like, oh, Martin's back. Not to what he ran the show. He absolutely ran the show yesterday. It was beautiful to see. So I just want to mention that. So obviously we're all travelling home and everything, and we're all in the car. Well, I am. I'm in the car listening to City Spurs, and I never in a million years did I think what was going to happen happened. They are a bit of a bogey side from, but more at White Hart Lane. But I did feel that they may get a draw. I just thought maybe a 2-2 draw or something. And then obviously came home, watched most of the game, and absolutely gobsmacked at what I watched. They reminded me of 1980s Man City. Just weren't even there, weren't even at the game. I didn't feel their supporters supported them, but maybe it's different on TV. And I just want to touch on something. The difference between the Arsenal fan base and the Tottenham fan base is just bizarre. Before the game, because of I say about the weather conditions, I was in pretty early and I was on the concourse on my own. And I was just on social media, and a Tottenham fan came for me and said, because I joked and went, a Spurs fan's going to be, who are they going to be sporting tonight, City or Tottenham? You know, having a joke, having a bit of a laugh. Spurs fan came for me and said, you really don't understand rivalry, do you? I was like, no, I don't understand anything. You need to enlighten me. So we had this whole banter thing going. And he said to me, I said, well, who are you supporting tonight? And then anyway, he came back at me and said, are you supporting City? I said, absolutely not. I want you to put 5 past them. Why would I not want you to put 5 past our rivals? Anyway, that went on. A couple of Arsenal fans interjected, and that was it. Then, obviously, post game, I'm over the moon. I don't understand any Arsenal fan that would not be pleased that Man City lost at home 4-0. I don't care who's beaten them. Apart from Liverpool, I would have been upset. But I don't get this. For me, it's what's best for Arsenal. I don't care about anything else. So I went back to the Spurs fan. I said, thanks very much. And when I saw my Spurs mate last night as I walked in the pub, we were later because we were both watching the game. And I walked in, I went, thanks. He said, well, Spurs won. I went, no, you beat City. Thanks very much. I don't get it. I don't care about Spurs. They're not our rivals. They're just a derby club. It's just that London rivalry. Absolutely. But football rivalry, I want Tottenham to beat Liverpool 9-0. I don't really care. So a couple of other people started talking about the rivalry post game, and Tottenham fans were coming for us. It was so bizarre, Chris, that I don't get. It's got to be what's best for your club. Love your club more than you hate someone else's club.
Yeah, you made a really interesting point. And actually, I'm going to segue into some questions. Well, we've only got 2 questions, but I'll segue into one, which is Carl's given, which talks about who do you feel most as challenges in the league. Maybe, Cook, you can answer this one in a second. But for me, it links to the point that you've just made, which is we don't see Tottenham. I mean, they may be if they go on a winning run. Like Tottenham are only 3 points off of us. I'm just looking at the league table at the moment. They may turn into our rivals, but we're looking up. We don't want to look down. We want to look up. So who are we above? Who's above us at the moment? Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool. Man City losing 4-0 yesterday is great because goal difference, because we're now within a point of them. And this links to Carl's point, and I'll let Cookie answer it actually, because I'm going into monologue mode. But who do you feel the most as challenges in the league? Man City, Chelsea, or Liverpool, and why? For me, I think that little exchange and that you had, Amanda, just really shows why we are interested in City losing. But Cooks, what's your kind of perspective?
It's a really difficult one to answer at this stage in the season, because all 3 of those sides have to play the games that we've played to an extent. I mean, City have already gone to Bournemouth. They've lost their game, but they've still got to go to places like Villa. They've still got to go to Newcastle. I mean, those teams still have to play a lot of tough games is basically what I'm saying. Whereas we've got like 5 of the toughest fixtures in the league already out the way, done and dusted. So we're, like you say, Chris, we're looking up rather than looking down. I do think Chelsea, you've got to look at them and say they're doing really well this season. Like the football they're playing is really good. They're looking dangerous. I don't know if there'll be title challenges. Like I do expect them to have like a couple of draws in games that people expect them to win, and I do expect them to fall away. That's more hope than expectation, I suppose, at the minute. But I think they'll be looking at a top 4 push without a shadow of a doubt. I think they're a much better outfit this season. I still obviously have PTSD with City, so I'd probably put them as the team that I worry about the most still, because we just know when they click into gear, they can be ruthless. But it's just a question of, are they going to click into gear? Because at the minute, they've not got Ruben Diaz, they've not got Kovacic, they've not got Rodri. De Bruyne, when he came on yesterday, looked dreadful, to be quite honest. He looks really, really poor. So I just don't know if they've got that in them this season with the players they're missing and some of the players that they rely on just not looking up to scratch at the minute. So as it stands right now, I'd have to say Liverpool. We know what City are capable of, but right now, where Liverpool just look formidable, I would have them as the team that I'm concerned about the most. But again, like I said earlier, they've still got to play all of these really tough games that we've already got out of the way. So I think if we go on a run and we're able to win the games that we're supposed to between now and basically, I think our next game that I would expect us to, not expect, but anticipate could be tricky for us is against Brentford away on January the 1st, where they're doing really well at home this season. I think we should be winning all of those games up until that point. If we do that, and Liverpool drop a couple of points here and there, I think that gap that it is right now will be a lot smaller.
Yeah,
So,
Amanda, you probably want to answer that question, but shall I go through a couple of the fixtures for some of the teams that we talked about, which might help?
yeah, please do.
So
And then I
Chelsea
just
have
want
got
to
to play.
touch on the City and Liverpool thing. Go on.
Yeah, so Chelsea in the next few games they've got Villa at home, tricky one. Although Villa are on a bit of a losing streak, but they're still a good team. They've got Southampton away, they've got Tottenham away, they've got Brentford at home, they've got Everton away. So kind of a couple, one of those that might be difficult. Maybe Tottenham away if Tottenham pick up a bit of form. Liverpool have got they play Southampton today. They've got Man City next weekend. They've got Newcastle away next weekend. Again, not the easiest of games. They've got Everton away the weekend after that, the Merseyside derby.
Yeah, but
Then we get
Everton
into
are
like the Christmas
at the
period.
moment, so
Yeah, but it's still a Merseyside derby though.
I know.
They've got Tottenham over Christmas. They've got Fulham. They've got Fulham at home and Leicester at home. So, and on beginning of January they've got Man United. So tricky ones. And our fixtures, just to kind of close this loop off, is we've got West Ham away next weekend. We've got Man United at home the weekend after that. Fulham away, Everton at home, and then we've got Palace away, and then Ipswich at home. That's when we get into the Boxing Day period. Do you want to do the City ones?
We should win. We should win all of them.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Just touching on the City, I just want to talk about Carl's question. What is the best result for us when Liverpool play City at Anfield? Now, I just want to touch on what you were saying, Cooks. I am in such the same mindset as you. My brain is going, of course, we want a draw. But I don't know if they're going to click into form. City fans on my social media and private have given up. They've given up already in November. They've said
Really?
we've got 8 injuries. I mean, I don't know if they've got 8. We just have to go again January and see what happens in the transfer window. But we're so bad, yet we're still above you. I said we won't be for long if you carry on playing like that. On the other hand, I think Liverpool are formidable. And I think this is so hard for me to say because I think this could come back and bite me. But I do want City to beat them at Anfield. Now, they generally don't anyway. So this could be a bit of a drubbing for City. So I actually want City to win at Anfield. I can't even believe I'm saying it. And what do you two think? Answer his question. So for me, I want City to win currently. That's what I want. I don't want to draw. We need to lower the gap with Liverpool.
Yeah, do you know what? If that wasn't such a big gap, and if it wasn't, if they weren't playing like Southampton away, who they will smash today, we're going to go. Even if we, so I think we play them before. We play West Ham before. If we've won that game, it's still only down to 6 points. We need to start knocking. We need to start chipping away at that 6 points. So I still think a draw is fine. But I think a Liverpool win is the absolutely worst thing that we could hope for, because a Liverpool win means that you're going to start looking at it and going, right, well, they've gone to Arsenal and got a draw. Admittedly, we had a makeshift back line defence. We got a bit fortunate with that one. They've played Liverpool, they played City at home and they've beaten them. The confidence that will come out of that, and looking at their games as well, it will start to look like they're going to start romping it. The only thing I would say though about Liverpool is last season they were 5 points clear of us, I think in January, at end of January, something like that, and we still just chipped away and we pegged them back. So they are gettable, but the longer that this goes on, the more it starts to feel like, I know they're not Leicester, but do you remember we said that the season that Leicester won the league? We said, oh yeah, but they'll fall away, and it just kept going and going and going and going until the end, and then suddenly they're champions and you're like, bloody hell, how did that happen? Cooks, what do you reckon?
I mean, look, I'm going against the grain a little bit here. I think if Liverpool win against City, I still don't think that's going to tell the true story of where they are, because City are going to be going into that game with an injury-ravaged side still. I mean, if they play Rico Lewis as their holding midfielder again at Anfield, they're going to get pumped. Like that will happen, 110%. But I believe Kovacic is going to be out for that game. We know Rodri's out for that game. They're going to have a makeshift midfield three. I mean, what could it be? I mean, Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, Gundogan, potentially. You'd still say it's a decent midfield three, but it's not exactly the most physical. So, look, I think if Liverpool win that game, it doesn't tell us everything that we know about them just yet. I would expect them to win it to be quite honest, given how things are going. But we also know that Liverpool are capable of losing at home to Nottingham Forest. But if they win that game, I'm not going to be getting worried. I'm always worried, to be honest. But I think I'm not going to be like, oh, it's over because they've beaten City, and they've drawn with us. I still think because of the injuries that City have got and because of the makeshift team that we had to play against them, that it's not truly telling us who Liverpool are when they've basically had such a nice run of fixtures to start the season. And they've had a handful of injuries at most, not comparable to us or City's injury problems. So it's a long season. I think they're going to drop points, whether it's now, whether it's in 3-4 months' time. I think they'll still drop points.
Can I just riff off that a little bit, Amanda?
Yeah, go
on. Only because this feels a bit like, and I don't know, again, I'd like to get your views on this, Amanda, but it feels a bit like 2 seasons ago, things kind of fell into place for us to sustain that title challenge, even though the squad probably wasn't big enough. Like, we didn't have many injuries. Like, we tended to play teams. I felt like we'd play certain teams at the right time. Liverpool played us at the right time because of injuries and suspensions and a back four. Liverpool are playing Man City at home next weekend at the right time, going on Cook's point because of injuries. I mean, the 8 players, Amanda, just to your point, I'm looking at PremierLeagueInjuries.com. Rodri, Oscar Bob, Mateo Kovacic, Diaz and Doku are their own. So they've got 5 players injured, but some of those, 2 of those at least are squad players. But it just feels like the fixtures are happening for Liverpool. They've had a nice run of fixtures, and then when they've had their tough fixtures, they're getting the rub of the green. They're getting the rub of the green with injuries. They're also getting the rub of the green with opposition, either having players suspended or injuries. I don't know. Maybe I'm just trying to legislate in my brain for Liverpool not being as good, and maybe they are just as good as they're coming out to be. But it just feels like everything's going their way at the moment. What do you think about that, Amanda?
No, I agree with that. But I'm a little bit. If they beat City next week, I won't be dramatic and go, that's the league over. But it's going to be bloody hard to catch them if they start if they start going that far ahead. I won't be if that was obviously February or March, then obviously that would be it. It's not. They've got to hit their bad patch, maybe get an injury or 2. I don't know. And I'm surprised that the chat room actually are agreeing with me about wanting City to win. It does feel strange. I don't think they will win. I think Liverpool win about 4-0 that day, but we can live in hope that they even try. But it just proves, doesn't it, that even having stay humble Erling up front, that he is not the magician everyone thinks he is. And when you've got wonderful players around you that, well, sometimes you need to stand up and be counted for the amount of money he's earning and the plaudits he got. Since he's told Arteta to stay humble, they haven't won anything, which is obviously quite funny. I want City to win that day. I do. I want the gap shortened. And I will say, going over my history with Arsenal over the years of trying to win the Premier League or the league or Division 1, whatever you want to call it, I always liked being second. Jan, Feb, March. I never liked it in the last few years where we were top for months. Let's just keep in that pack. Let's keep in the top 3. Let's get in the top 3 and let's keep there. And let's see what happens, and let's keep our players fit. Let's just do a couple of predictions and then we'll go on to the questions and then we'll let everyone go and have their Sunday brunch. So for Sporting, I've gone for 2-2. And for West Ham, I've gone 2-1 to us. So Chris, for Sporting?
1-1. No, actually, I'm going to change that. 1-0 to the Arsenal.
Okay,
Let's be
cool.
positive on Sunday.
0-1. And all of you in the chat room, let us know what you think and we'll put your scores up. And for West Ham?
Chris? 2-0 Arsenal.
Oh.
2-0 Arsenal.
I thought you were going to sleep.
No,
James?
You
remember to think.
I'll go for 1-0 in the Sporting game, same as Chris. And then for West Ham, stay on the positive trail. I'll go with 3-0 to us.
Really? Okay, cool.
I think they're dreadful, to be honest.
Yeah, but they seem to raise it when we go there sometimes, honestly.
Do they? We battered them last season, 6-0.
Yeah, last season, but I've been there many seasons where we haven't. So, and I'm not going, so that's a good sign as well. Right.
Check out Mr. Arthur podcast and 5-0 West Ham, Arsenal 5, West Ham 0. Good
Oh,
going, mate.
let's just go for it. Honestly, I love the positivity anyway. Questions, Chris, and then we can wrap up.
Yes. So one from Angela T. Zinchenko seems to have been left out of the cold for quite some time by Arteta. Were you surprised to see him come on instead of MLS? James Cook, answer the question.
Well, Lewis Skelly was out injured, which is probably why Zinchenko came on. But I mean, he's still got lots to offer. Zinchenko. I thought he was decent enough when he came on. I mean, in games where we've got time on the ball, he's fine. Like, he's absolutely fine. It's just in those situations and game states where we're up against it that you don't want to see him play. But he's still got a role to offer in this Arsenal team, and he showed that yesterday.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with Zinchenko coming on. I just have a problem with him starting.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think he's been more injured than people think, and I think Arteta's slowly sort of weaving him in. I think as the season goes on, he'll start to play a little bit more than Miles Lewis-Skelly, because I think Arteta does still have a place for him. Long term, he doesn't, but I still think he's gonna find a place for him. Ryan, Mr. Arsenal podcast said, "Am I the only one that thinks Arteta got all of his subs spot on? Not just a case of personnel, but also the timing of the subs." What do you think, Amanda?
Yeah, absolutely. He really did this time. He hasn't previously a couple of occasions, but he did, didn't he? I mean, look at the scoreline. Look what they brought. Timing was perfect. And the fact that he took Erdegaard off to an absolute standing ovation. And I have to be honest, I don't get up all the time, but I said if Erdegaard goes off, I'm getting up, because I just absolutely wanted to applaud that boy off the pitch.
James?
Yeah, same for me. Like, when things are going well for us, he gets the substitutions right almost all the time. The only question mark I would have is when things aren't going well for us, is when I think his substitutions could be a bit better. But yesterday, he got him bang on.
Yeah, how does he game change it when backs against the wall? That's an interesting one. I think from my perspective, and I said this in my blog this morning, not just the subs, but if you could say to Arteta, describe your perfect football match, it would be clean sheet, we get a few goals, completely dominate possession, we create lots of chances, I can rotate players, particularly when we've got such a busy schedule. That ticked every single box, including making the subs at the right time. So really, really impressive. And then to finish us off, Amanda, are you worried about Chelsea? I think we sort of touched on this, but let's just finish it off, given that it's a question that I've started.
I'm not sure, if I'm honest. Sometimes I think about it and I think, yeah, I am a little bit. I think they're just too inconsistent. But I think they're going to be one of those teams that could have a say in who wins it. That's the other thing, you know, when what times we're playing them. And someone actually just said that we go to Liverpool the last 2 seasons of the league, or whenever we play them. Depends when Chelsea play as well. Look, we can't worry about anyone else. We've just got to win our games. We've just got to go on a run now. That's all I'm asking. Is get on one of our runs right now would be the most perfect time. But no, they're a bit inconsistent for me.
Yeah, and if you look at the results, that backs it up. James, I'll get your view, but I'll just say the results first. So they lost to Man City in the first game of the season. That can happen. They then smashed Wolves away from home, 6-2. They then drew with Palace at home, 1-1. Then they went away to Bournemouth, beat them 1-0. Went away to Chelsea, West Ham, beat them 3-0. They beat Brighton 4-2 at home. They've drawn at home to Chelsea. They lost away to Liverpool. They've beaten Newcastle at home. It's a real up and down, drawn away to Man United. It's a real inconsistent. It's a hodgepodge of results. What's your view, James, of Chelsea?
I think there are some really good results in there, to be fair, as well. I mean, going away to Bournemouth and winning, they've beaten us, they've beaten City. That's a really good win. Beating Brighton is always a good result. Smashing Wolves. I mean, I think they're very capable of scoring goals. I definitely think we shouldn't be underestimating them in the way we have done over the past 2-3 seasons. Nicholas Jackson has found his shooting boots. Pedro Neto looks like a really good signing. They've got ample options basically in every area of the pitch as well. Like, they brought in João Felix, Enzo Fernandez yesterday. They aren't exactly 2 bad players to bring in for a game. And then they've got a really good midfield of Lavia and Caicedo, who seems to be performing really well this season. Defensively, I still think there's a few question marks there, but I mean, I think they're a good side. I can't hide that fact. I don't think they're going to win the league. I think they're too a little bit too young squad-wise to do that. But I definitely think they could be up there and thereabouts. I'd be surprised if they didn't get the top 4, to be honest, based on what I've seen from them so far this season.
Yeah, really, really interesting. I'm the same as you guys. I just don't know at this stage. It feels like they either need to go on a run where they win 5 or 6 in a row, and we think, oh, okay, they're decent, or if they carry on being patchy like this, then maybe it'll be a case of, okay, they're just going to be a streaky team that's going to be fighting for top 4, and they'll slowly just fall away from the pack. Amanda, that's all the questions we've got, so I will let you do the wrap up.
Okay, so that's it for the Same Old Arsenal podcast post-game breakfast show. We will be back next weekend when we decide when we're podding post West Ham, either Saturday night, Sunday morning. But if you don't want to miss a show, please hit the subscribe button, press the bell on YouTube, and you'll never miss a show. We are on all audio platforms as well, and social media now. We're on TikTok, Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, wherever you want to find us. Please come and say hello. Myself and Chris are now on Blue Sky. It's a very nice platform at the moment. Let's see how long that lasts. But we are still on Twitter as well. We really appreciate you joining us this morning. So go off and enjoy your Sunday. And as we all want to say, when the Saints go marching in, come on, Southampton, make this the best Perfectly football weekend ever. And as my mug says, make Mrs. Arsenal very happy. So that's it from me and the boys. Enjoy your Sunday and always Arsenal.